All right, everyone, welcome back to Vuln Vibes for another deep dive. And today,
Hi, everyone.
we're going to be talking all about Winzip.
Yeah.
And more specifically, a vulnerability known as the Winzip RCE vulnerability
Good, huh?
that was given the CVE number, 2025-1240. So we're going to be talking all about that. And we know that you guys
That's right.
listening are pretty savvy when it comes to vulnerabilities. And you heard of
Right,
RCEs
so
before, so we're going to
right.
take a little bit of a deeper dive here and maybe
Yeah.
talk about some of the trends that we see with this.
Definitely some trends we can highlight. Yeah.
Specific vulnerability. So
Absolutely.
to get us started, maybe you can give us a little bit of a rundown on
Yeah.
exactly how this vulnerability works.
Sure. So this vulnerability really stems from a flaw in the way Winzip handles 7-zip files.
Okay.
And essentially, there's kind of a gap in the validation process that lets attackers sneak in some malicious code.
So it's kind of like trying to stuff one too many items into a suitcase,
You got it.
and eventually it just
Pops open.
bursts open. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this case, it's not clothes exploding everywhere. It's code.
Right.
That's doing some damage.
Yeah, and we're talking about like the technical term I think is an out of bounds, right?
That's right. Yeah, out of bounds right. That's exactly it.
Okay, and this one's got a CVSS score of 7.8,
Yeah, that's pretty high.
which I imagine puts it on like the pretty serious
Yeah, don't ignore it list.
list.
For sure. But there is kind of a good piece of news here.
Okay.
This one requires user interaction.
So somebody's got to actually open that malicious file.
Exactly. Like they got to click on it, they got to open it somehow.
Right. But, I mean, knowing how creative these attackers can get,
Oh, yeah.
that probably means we're going to see a lot of, like, phishing attempts and stuff like that.
Absolutely. We're talking about, like I said, phishing emails disguised as invoices, maybe malicious ads on websites you visit every day, all sorts of things to try to trick you.
So, it's kind of like that saying, security is only as strong as the weakest link.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And in this case, that weakest link might just be, human error.
Exactly. It's often not the technology that's the problem. It's the people using it.
So what happens, like, in a worst-case scenario, if somebody does fall victim to this, and they do open that malicious file, what could happen?
Well, the fallout can be pretty bad. We're talking, data breaches, your personal information stolen from your computer, malware infections, your computer starts doing all sorts of things you don't want it to do.
Right.
And even worse, your computer could get hijacked and added to a botnet.
So basically somebody stealing your car and then using it to commit a crime.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's good.
Not good at all. But the good news is,
Okay.
Winzip, they've already released a patch
Okay, good.
in their latest version 29.0.
So if you're listening to this and you haven't updated Winzip, you need to do that.
Yeah, seriously. Like right now.
Like, pause the podcast.
Exactly. Go
do it. Because even if you think you're security savvy, you could still fall victim to this.
Absolutely. Nobody's immune.
So this kind of brings up a point that I think is really interesting because, it's not just Winzip, right? We see these sorts of vulnerabilities popping up in all sorts of software.
All the time, yeah. It's a constant cat and mouse game.
So what do you think is the bigger trend that we're seeing here?
Well, I think it shows that attackers are really shifting their focus to target this widely used software.
Okay.
Things that everybody uses because they know that even a small vulnerability can have a huge impact if enough people are using that software.
So it's not just about, finding that one super secret exploit anymore. It's about finding something that everybody uses.
Exactly. It's about finding the vulnerability that's going to give them the biggest bang for their buck.
Which kind of leads to a question that I think is really important. It's not enough to just tell people, hey, update your software. How do we as security professionals get better at fostering a culture of proactive security?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah. How do we make it so that people just naturally make those secure choices?
Right. Well, I think a big part of it is understanding how people think and behave.
Okay.
People are busy. They want things to be easy and convenient, and sometimes security can feel like an extra step.
Yeah.
So we need to design security solutions that fit into people's lives, not the other way around.
So it's less about telling people what not to do and more about making the secure choice the easiest choice.
Exactly. What if your web browser had like a built-in sandbox mode for downloading files? So anything you download gets run in this isolated environment and it can't harm your computer.
That's a really cool idea.
Or what if we had software that kind of nudged you towards safer choices without being annoying or interrupting your work?
Yeah, like it's almost like, making security more invisible in a way.
Exactly. It should just be built in to the way we use technology.
I love that. All right. So to kind of wrap things up, we talked about this Winzip vulnerability. We dove a little deeper into what causes it and how it works. We talked about some of the trends. And then we even had a little brainstorming session about potential solutions. So what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that even seemingly harmless software can have serious vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And we need to be vigilant about updating our software and staying informed about the latest threats.
I think that's a great takeaway. So with that said, we want to thank you guys for joining us for another Volt Vibes Deep Dive. As always, we love hearing from you guys, so hit us up on social media with your thoughts. And until next time, stay safe out there,
Stay safe.
and we'll see you in the next Deep Dive.
See you later. Bye.